Welcome back to Halloween. Oops, they better take off those silver shamrock masks quick.
Happy Halloween.
You can even see the witch back there. They included all three in this shot. Nice reference. Season of the Witch for the win. Still one step behind Michael, Hawkins finds Vicky. A little bit reminiscent of the first movie again. Maybe Michael just likes the idea of wearing a sheet. I like that he also put the jack-o'-lantern in the fish tank.
Get out of here!
Meanwhile, Laurie clears the streets by waving her gun around at some kids and spots Michael in a window, and vice versa. I think I remember reading that in that particular shot, Michael was played by Nick Castle, who played him in the first movie.
Michael!
I love that this movie cares so little about Idiot Boyfriend that he got killed off screen. He suffered a similar fate as Bob, though, except through the neck. Yikes. Michael moves toward Laurie and she gets in a minor shot. Then she literally runs into Hawkins. Reminds me a little of when she ran into Sheriff Brackett in the first movie.
Laurie? Oh, Mr. Brackett, I'm sorry, Mr. Brackett.
Though obviously she was a lot more polite then.
Jesus Christ, Frank!
Fuck me!
Fuck!
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
What the hell are you doing here?
Frankie's here.
I know.
The police are starting to collect the bodies and
Where is he?
here comes Dr. Sartain.
You tell me.
He's no longer dormant. He only knows how to keep moving and to keep killing. And he will kill again unless he's captured.
The officers are trying to decide if Sartain is an asset or a liability.
You want me to take this injured civilian to go look for a psychopathic serial killer?
Sheriff,
When Laurie shows up to yell at them,
please do something!
Excuse me, officers. Laurie Strode.
and Sartain reacts like he just spotted a celebrity.
I'm Michael's doctor, Ranbir Sartain.
You're the new Loomis.
Or Numis, if you will. I'm calling him Numis from now on.
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape so I can kill him?
Well, that was a dumb thing to pray for.
I agree, Laurie's nuts.
Doctor, would you say that Laurie Strode has lost her fucking marbles?
Heh, exactly. But Numis has some insight about her.
They can grow accustomed to always being afraid. They can grow weak, they can grow strong.
And naturally about Michael.
How does a crime like Michael's affect him? Is he on a random path, or is he emotionally driven? Perhaps some unheard marching order imprinted on his very being.
It does seem that way.
I want to know what pleasure he gets out of killing.
That's a bit of a slippery slope.
Remember, he's property of the state. He mustn't be harmed.
Oh, yeah? We'll see about that.
Meanwhile, poor Karen suddenly gets a visit from the cops and Laurie.
Where's Allison?
She tries calling Allison, but she doesn't have her phone thanks to dickhole Cameron.
Can't get in touch with you, and they're making us go to your grandmother's house because it's safe.
Laurie takes the phone and says they're all going to her house.
Now do as I say.
Meanwhile, Allison is venting to Cameron's friend Oscar what a jerk Cameron is. This would have happened shortly after Cameron's arrest if they hadn't cut that scene out.
And then I look like an idiot for vouching for him.
Anyway, it seems like Cameron is the sort of person who is normally fine but turns belligerent when drunk.
Allison, you're the coolest, you're the prettiest, and you're the nicest girl in school. And if anyone doesn't appreciate that, they're a crazy person.
No, he totally has a crush on her.
What are you doing?
You deserve better, right?
What the fuck?
You're not with Cameron anymore.
That does not.
Oh shit, I was just starting to like him.
All right, please, you cannot tell Cameron about this. I didn't feel anything either. I swear. I didn't.
You are so pathetic. I'm going home. You can figure your own shit out.
Allison, I'm like really drunk right now. Seriously, I got really horny at the party and like all these girls were like dancing on me. Their beautiful bodies got me all chubbed out, Allison.
TMI, dude.
Happy Halloween, Miss Joyride. I don't know, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's obviously not whoever he thinks it is.
I'll peace out of your hair, man. Thank you for just... What's up?
This bit with the motion light is great. Whoa, jump scare.
Please, somebody please help me.
Yeah, this is why capes are a bad idea.
No capes.
Okay, I actually feel sorry for Oscar now. Maybe he just did a really stupid thing and could have learned from it. He didn't need to die.
Oscar!
Oh god, his face got impaled on the spike. Ow. Allison, meet Michael. And like Laurie, she tries to call for help.
Help me! Please! Can't you hear me? Oh God!
But it pays off this time. Could be because news travels faster than it did 40 years ago, and they had less of a reason to think it was a random prank. And we're about to find out what's in that basement.
It's my childhood.
Turns out there's a lot of canned food down there. And lots of weapons.
I like a revolver. They never jam. This is accuracy and stopping power. This is tactical.
And she knows her shit.
He's waited for me. I've waited for him.
Meanwhile, Allison is in the back of Officer Hawkins' car, and she identifies Michael on the street.
It's him!
Brace yourselves.
And Hawkins just runs his ass over. He also wants to finish him off, but Numis won't let him.
Get away from the body. Stand back. I'm not gonna say it again. Step away from the suspect. Step away.
To the point where he actually stabs Hawkins to death. So yeah, Numis wasn't just spitballing earlier when he talked about wanting to understand Michael. He really wanted to know what it's like to commit murder.
So, this is what it feels like.
Okay, even if he's just touching a mask, that's a little creepy. I wonder if he wants to put that mask on. Well, I wasn't wrong. There's a moment here where it looks like Michael might be dead and maybe the new Loomis is about to become the new Michael. Because Numis is more unhinged than a warehouse full of used doors.
Make room for my patient.
That seemed totally abrupt and came almost out of nowhere unless you were hanging on his every word earlier. But I kinda love it.
These people want to kill this man.
Yeah, imagine that.
The most important opportunity to understand the mind of evil, you see. When he awakes, we'll be ready.
So one thing that sets him apart from Loomis is that this guy never got to see Michael in action.
I would suspect the notion of being a predator or the fear of becoming prey keeps both of them alive.
And he runs over Hawkins for good measure. He mentions that he never heard Michael speak.
In spite of my encouragements, he remains unresponsive.
Allison says that she heard Michael say something but won't tell him what it was unless he lets her out of the car. Pretty clever. Here's some more lovable characters that are most likely gonna die.
You want to see what I brought?
Yeah, I do want to see what you brought.
Oh, fresh brownie. I made that myself.
That's like what a 5-year-old would eat if they could make their own lunch.
Good old Seinfeldian dialogue.
What the hell is that?
Pudding skin singles.
Well, Michael's body was in the car that whole time, and he woke up and put on the mask while they weren't paying attention.
Michael.
He's all, hey buddy, as if there was any chance this would end well for him.
Say something.
Oh, and so much for Numis. He also fucked around and found out. After Allison gets away, the two cops try to check out what's going on. Can you imagine what poor Karen is going through? She spent her whole life thinking her mom was a nutcase, and now she's finding out that mom was right all along.
I've been preparing for this for a long time.
You want him to come here.
I'm so sorry, Karen.
Afterwards, a police car pulls up by Laurie's house.
Hey, any word on Allison?
In this franchise, I wouldn't trust it. Wouldn't be the first time Michael stole a car.
I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor.
Looks like there's a jack-o'-lantern in there. Turns out to be the two cops. One was just killed and the other, woof, Michael got creative with that poor guy. And now Dad's murdered.
Michael's here. Get downstairs.
Karen goes into the basement while Laurie stays out there to face Michael. Looks like it's not gonna end well for her. Until... Nice. Laurie goes down into the basement with Karen and turns on all the floodlights outside.
Nothing will happen to you. I know you thought this was my cage.
Michael looks so menacing in this movie. I fucking love it. So far, Michael doesn't know how to get in.
Mom, I love you.
So Laurie goes out after him. Heh, no, Michael's not hiding in the closet, though that's a funny idea. I feel the need to point out that H2O made a reference to that scene. Anyway, Laurie goes through the house, creating barriers so Michael has nowhere to hide. Anytime she comes across an empty room, she hits a button closing it off. Yeah, those Target mannequins are creepy, as Allison discovers when she wanders into Laurie's yard. By the way, it's only shown for a split second, but I literally just noticed that that last one is Michael. I don't know if he's actually hiding among the mannequins, or if she just imagined it because she's traumatized, but nice touch, movie. If Michael's not in this room, he definitely was at some point. That reminds me a little of when she found Linda's body in the first movie. There he is! Laurie gets stabbed, but bites Michael's wounded hand before she falls out the window. Again, looking like Michael in the first movie. Meanwhile, Allison makes her way into the house, and boy is that ever bad timing. Again, just like Michael, Laurie disappears. Now you know how it feels, Michael. Meanwhile, Karen calls Allison down into the basement, where they appear to be safe. He picks up a fireplace poker. He knows they're around somewhere, and he just figured it out. So far, he can't seem to force it open. Until he does. But then he's gone?
Help us! I can't do it!
Gotcha.
Oh, nice one, Karen. And now it's Laurie's turn to come out of the darkness. Ahem.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
I'd say the pre-ass-kicking one-liners don't belong in a Halloween movie, but Laurie earned hers. Unlike fucking Busta Rhymes, where they were just trying to make him look cool.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
It didn't work. Did she really just nail him with a cake pan? Now that's cool. They're nearly out of the basement when Karen gets grabbed. Go, Allison! And now he's trapped down there. Laurie was saying earlier, I know you thought this was my cage. Turns out it was meant to be Michael's. Which doesn't explain all the food down there, but maybe the room was meant to be used in either case.
Goodbye, Michael.
He just stands there as the entire room ignites around him. And then the rest of the house. Laurie is burning down her entire house to kill Michael. But notice you don't see Michael in that room. Could be that he's just out of the shot, but it could also be that he got out somehow.
Her, I got her! I got her! Go! Go, baby, go! Hey!
They flag down a truck and get away. 3 generations of strong women united. The end. Except for a couple things about the credits.
Close to me, so close to me.
That's the song that Laurie sings once in the original movie.
I wish I had you all alone, just the two of us.
And a second time in the TV edit.
Hold you close to me. so close to me.
I didn't even know that was a real song. Also, at the very end, we hear Michael breathing. Yes, somehow he's still not dead. Oh god. Well, that was Halloween 2018, and wow, it only took 40 years and 6 attempts, but we finally got a worthy sequel to Halloween. Like the original, it has an amazing atmosphere, which it really takes its time building. I said something similar about the first movie, and again, you really need to see the whole movie to understand, because I have to do a lot of editing. But aside from that, it feels like a Halloween sequel. Just about all the other previous attempts felt like they were trying to copy other slasher films. With how they upped the body count and gore so drastically and failed with the scares, a lot of them felt like Friday the 13th, where Jason wandered out of Crystal Lake wearing the wrong mask. And even though I do like parts of H2O, it was easily the best sequel before this one. It felt like a Scream movie, which is all kinds of ironic. Then there was Resurrection that was obviously trying to ride the found footage and reality TV train. Basically, the old Halloween sequels were trying to be anything but Halloween, and that's why I didn't like them. They started off with this great movie, a milestone of horror, but then every single sequel just felt like a cash grab to some degree. Even John Carpenter has admitted that that was the case with Halloween 2. But this one manages to tread that fine line between making something new while respecting the original. There was a lot of thought and care put into it. It's beautifully shot and captures the feel of the original movie while still being its own thing. In fact, the ways it references the original movie are very creative and unexpected. You don't see Michael across the street, you see Laurie, and there are a lot of other little visual references to the first movie that change things up in interesting ways. It doesn't just try to be mindless fan service. We have a character who seems so similar to Dr. Loomis, he's basically an XB, until he reveals that he really wants to be more like Michael. I thought that was kind of ridiculous when I first saw this movie, but it's really grown on me and I like it more every time I see this. That is one hell of a heel turn. Another thing this movie does really well is that it really makes you care about characters before killing them. Even if you only know enough about them to learn that they're kind of fun or amusing, you just don't want most of these victims to die. And I suppose some of that could be considered kind of manipulative, but I'll take that over 20 minutes with jerks until they finally start dying off. Which is basically what Halloween 5, Halloween Resurrection, and Zombies movies were. Not to mention that there are certain characters who are set up in such a way that you think they're going to help Laurie defeat Michael in the end, like the podcasters and Hawkins and of course Dr. Sartain, and they all end up getting killed before the climax. This movie really messes with your expectations, and I love that. They wanted to explore Laurie Strode, so they came up with a new pathway that follows up after Michael was captured, just after the end of the first movie. Laurie was the every girl in Middle America, but now she's been so traumatized that she's become frozen in time, unable to move forward, broken but determined. She knows that Michael Myers will come again. It sounds crazy, and yet she ends up being right. There's a description of Michael Myers in the first movie that I always loved.
I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, looking past the wall, looking at this night, inhumanly patient.
And that's basically what Laurie had to become. There is an element of becoming the enemy to know how to fight the enemy. I kind of wonder if the movie is even hinting at that with the shots that look similar to the shots in the first movie but show Laurie in Michael's place. By the way, there's a deleted scene where the first time we see Laurie, she would have been in her shooting range and shown to have suicidal thoughts as she's about to play Russian roulette as the true crime podcasters show up and inadvertently stop her. I'm kinda glad they took that out. Laurie is definitely self-destructive, but having her come that close to intentional suicide feels out of character with the survivor she normally is. I know it probably goes without saying, but I need to give a lot of credit to Jamie Lee Curtis. Laurie is a combination of toughness, snark, and profound grief and trauma, and she really knocks all of that out of the park. Some scenes almost make me cry. I do wonder if it's a coincidence that Laurie in this movie is kinda similar to Sarah Connor in Terminator 2. She knows what's going to happen and prepares for it, learning all about guns, stocking up on said guns, tries to prepare her kid and ends up losing custody of her kid because everyone thinks she's crazy. But in the end, she's right, and even her kid realizes that everyone should have given her more credit. There are enough differences that it could be coincidence. Laurie didn't get locked up for one thing, though she effectively locked herself up. Also, she didn't buff up like Sarah did, though she is in pretty good shape for her age, and we see her drinking what looks like protein shakes, so she does appear to be trying to stay in shape, even if not to the extent that Sarah did. But even if they did intentionally borrow from Terminator 2, I think that's a pretty brilliant direction to go with Laurie. I would not have thought that combining Halloween with Terminator 2 would work, but they pulled it off. Hell, Michael might as well be a Terminator with how hard he is to kill. Regarding Michael, I never did mention in my original video how that mask came to be. The original was a Captain Kirk mask that they took and reshaped the eye holes, spray painted it white, and the end result was strange and mannequin-like, showing a combination of tragedy and blankness. You could almost never see Michael's eyes, but in the sequels they tended to not bother to hide them. In this one, it's back to his eyes almost never being seen. By the way, John Carpenter describes Michael as being somewhere between human and supernatural, and I think that's a perfect way to describe him in these two movies. I also love that they show Michael among mannequins. He almost feels like he's one of them. I do have a couple of complaints though, and they're pretty minor, all things considered. First of all, why is this sequel to Halloween called Halloween? I realize that Halloween 2 is taken. Halloween Resurrection would have been a great meta title. They are resurrecting the franchise after Zombie killed it. But obviously that's also taken. But you know what else was already taken? Twice? Halloween! Whatever, it's not a deal breaker, I just think it's silly. Also, that cold open. Can we finally stop dehumanizing mental patients in horror movies? For the record, to me, Michael Myers himself doesn't count. Loomis, who is his psychologist, calls him evil. With that being such an unusual thing for a psychologist to say, I tend to believe him. Michael ended up in a mental institution because there was nothing else they could do with him. He can't go to jail because that would involve a trial, and since he doesn't talk, he can't defend himself in court. So a mental institution is the only place they can put him. Other people may disagree, and that's totally valid, but for those reasons, I don't feel like Michael Myers is supposed to represent real-life mental patients in any way. But we have no reason to think that that applies to the rest of the mental patients shown. They scream and howl like wild animals, alongside dogs doing the same thing. They are so blatantly dehumanizing mental patients with this scene. It's just really gross and cringy, and they only do it so they can have a really intense opening scene that the movie doesn't need, and it kind of falls flat for me anyway. They showed it in the original trailer, and it really made me worry about how this movie was going to turn out. I guess if I had to be totally consistent, I should complain about how the murders in this movie get so gory and over the top since the other sequels did that and I didn't like it then. I guess the reason it works for me in this movie is that there are only two deaths that come across that way to me. Namely, Dr. Sartain's face getting pounded flat by Michael's foot, and the one cop whose head gets turned into a jack-o'-lantern. Both of those are kind of silly. Especially the second one, like when did Michael find time to do that? But they happen close to the end, and with how many of the deaths up to that point feel more realistic, I guess? Or at least down-to-earth enough to be convincing, it just kind of works for me. Well, I guess that's about all I have to say about Halloween 2018. They do have sequels planned for this movie, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that when I first heard about it. The next one is called Halloween Kills, which sounds kind of edgelordy, but the following one is Halloween Ends. So they're planning it as a trilogy, which kind of sounds like they already know where they're going to go with this, rather than just cranking out sequels endlessly until they stop making money. So that could work. We'll see how that goes. I have to admit that all of that, combined with how great this movie turned out, does give me hope. Yeah, more of this, please. That's it for now. Happy Halloween, and see you next time. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Here's some other videos you might be interested in. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to further support my channel, there's also Patreon.
He's gone. Oh, wait, he's right there.